Welcome to episode 7 of the Current Backloggers. The date is March 27th. I'm your host, KCP, and we're just going to start out with the obvious. This is a little bit of a different setup. Cody G is not here, unfortunately. The reason for that is we recorded an episode, the entire thing, the best episode we ever did. And then when we went to edit it, there was no audio for the entire episode. And it was one of the most depressing moments yet because we've had a lot of issues with uploads and with our content in general. But I felt like we were just starting to get things figured out. And I feel like with this episode, it's going to get uploaded and things are going to go right. And that's just how I feel. Could come back to this and be wrong. And that's what I said last time, and then we didn't record the audio. But that's a mistake that we knew we made after it was done. It was just too late at that point. And also, I think it was a perfectly fine episode, but I was going to say it was the best even if it was the worst. So hopefully you didn't miss much, but I wanted to address the obvious first off, that he's not here, but that's the reason. And going forward, it should be the normal show with him. And then I'm going to try and do the show as normal as I can, but I already am not the best at this and not the most experienced. So not having somebody to work off of is going to be even harder. But I'm going to do what I can and do the best to stick to our timeline while still rambling and talking about nonsense because that's what we do. But yeah, I'm going to try my best to do that because I feel like even when it was with us, we wanted to get better at staying on a timeline and having it be more structured show, even though there is going to be a lot of nonsense. So I'm going to do the best to stay on path with what we recorded that episode, and maybe throw some of Cody's opinions in there if I remember them, but not say everything he said because he's not here and because I know I won't remember all of it. So what I've been up to lately, which is how we normally start the show, is not a lot, as most of you are probably in the same boat since everybody in this country and pretty much around the world is locked up and not really able to do anything, which is unfortunate, but you can't find positives in it with being able to have more time for games, relaxing, the people you live with, be able to become closer with them again. And a big positive for me that I'll talk about later, and I feel like I talked about in past episodes, is that I feel like I'm also be able to reconnect with a lot of people I haven't been able to play with because so many people are unfortunately out of jobs and have so much more free time. But like I said, that's a way to find a positive that it kind of reminds me of being younger and the early days of online gaming and being able to find everybody. So that's been fun. Been working the normal 40-hour work week, which a lot of people I feel like are, I don't know, I feel like ungrateful and also disappointed when they're the ones working and mad about it. And I get that to a point because it would be nice to, like I said already, the little amount of free time that's created has been super nice. So I get that to a point. But for one, I feel like your free time is only good for so long. When you have nothing but free time, I feel like you realize that you actually miss a job because it gives you something to have a consistency for and have something not to look forward to, but just gives you normalcy in your life. And I feel like that's one thing that is also definitely positive with having a job, is that everything is so abnormal right now that having a job makes something feel normal at least, and makes it feel like how things normally are, which is nice. And then the biggest obvious to it is that you have the job security and the income, which I'm fortunate about, but at any moment that could go away from me too. I feel like my job's in a good position and they're considered essential, so I'm not as worried, but I feel like a lot of people thought that and now they're in that boat. So I'm definitely not taking for granted, and I feel like a lot of people are looking at it as only a benefit because you get that free time. But what people are ignoring is that I feel like, at least for me, I feel like it's obvious, and it could come off wrong, but it's not supposed to be that way because I have a job and I'm like knocking other people. Because like I said, I know it could happen to me in a minute. That there's so many people that are getting unemployment and getting laid off, and all these businesses are losing thousands or millions or billions of dollars depending on what business it is. That I feel like it's not realistic and irresponsible to think that all these jobs are going to hire every single person back. I feel like it's a prime time to get rid of people that have not been good workers and have slacked off, which I feel like is more than fair. The parts where I don't feel like it's fair, but it's still going to happen, is the older people, unfortunately, because there's more feel like a risk with them if death were to happen or injury or anything. That's way more likely, and then the company would be responsible for that. Which, like I said, that part is unfortunate and not fair. And I think even if you're a perfectly fine, average age or younger worker, that's still a possibility for you if the people that are your supervisors, bosses, whatever, don't like you, which is, like I said, also incredibly unfair. And I feel like in my last job, that would have been very likely with me because all the customers loved me, my coworkers loved me. I knew I did a good job because I'm a hard worker, not because I'm arrogant. But there was people higher up that I know did not like me, so that's why I can see it from that point of view, and that's what gives me a little more uh, security and comfort if it were to happen to my job, that I'm still just as hard a worker and everybody seems to like me, but also that my bosses like me because they know how hard of a worker I am, which is unfortunately not how my last job was. So I feel like that would give me more comfort, but even then, and even with I think it being a good company, like I said, I feel like people just have to realize that it's just not realistic, unfortunately, that all these businesses that are going to be closed for months and months and who knows how long are just magically going to be able to rehire all these people and not have the business change at all. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see any way around that. And it's unfortunate. And I know we talked about the virus a lot, and we joked the episode we recorded about the virus segment, even though it's not a thing that we have on our schedule. It just happens. But unfortunately, I feel like it's kind of unavoidable because, like I said, that's what all of our lives have come to, unfortunately. So um, I haven't changed my view completely on it. I still feel the way I do. I do think it's overblown. I think it's very serious for a small portion of the population, and I don't think they should be discredited just because they're a small portion or they're older or whatever. Just like I don't think jobs should be doing that. But I feel like we have to take a understanding that all opinions should matter and theirs should matter, and they're most affected by it, so that should matter, and to look out and do everything we can for that. But also that everybody's opinions go into it, and you can't always just judge a people or just listen to people who are most affected, because I mean it'd be like if my I don't even like saying it, that's why I know people have gone through it, how they feel, because if I was to lose a family member from it, my whole view would change. I wouldn't have any talks about what I think the numbers are or this or that. And that's why I feel like it's dangerous to only see those kind of people, because it's human nature. If something like that happens so close to you, that you're going to have a different view on it, and that's going to be a very strong negative, and anything that is fighting that is going to be an issue, which is, like I said, human nature. But I feel like we have to realize that that's all that person's going to feel. They're not going to have any kind of other argument, and that's perfectly reasonable. But you have to use a whole parameter of everybody and not just the ones that are most affected. And so, like I said, that's how I feel, and I feel like there's, like I said, plenty of things you can do that are very reasonable. People who know me well know I'm definitely not the best at upkeep and hygiene and all the things that exactly you're supposed to be doing with this. So even though I don't think that, like I said, kind of how I feel about a lot of topics, I don't think you need to go so hard into it just because you're not sure or you don't completely believe. I'm doing the normal things I can to wash my hands more, to make sure I'm doing all the things you can. I don't want to use these ridiculous terms that people are forced to use, and a lot of them don't even know what they mean and aren't describing them right. So I don't want to be one of those people. But I do think there's plenty of things you can do even if you're somebody that washes your hand normally and not like me. Maybe wash your hands more, do things you can, but you just don't have to go so overboard with it. And I feel like it's at the point where people don't even realize what they're talking about. They're saying you need a social distance and you can't go outside, even though the GDC, the governor here in Ohio, and everybody that's talking about it says you can go outside, and it's common sense that you could. For one, for health reasons. Two, it's safer than being stuck inside. I know that's the whole thing, being inside now, but people are ignoring that this started with everything that was inside being affected, and outdoor things were still going on because naturally there's more room for things to move around. It's not confined, so outdoor things were safer, which still applies. It's just the same thing. You can't obviously have a ton of people contained in one spot, but that doesn't mean you can't go out on a walk. And I told Cody last episode, I know one of our first episodes when we talked about this, which is weird to think about, that we've only done this for 7 episodes now, and how different the world seems from when we started doing this, and it's seeming so small. And I don't want to be drastic about it because, like I said, I still feel mostly the same, but the numbers did get higher here in the U.S. than any other country. I feel like, for one, we have one of the highest populations, so it makes sense. But China has even bigger, and theirs were lower. And Cody pointed out, he said he doesn't believe that China is posting accurate numbers, which I think is actually a fair point, because we've seen how they hid the virus for so long. I feel like that's very realistic. And then you could have a counter argument that you can't trust our government either, which I definitely agree with. But I feel like as far as the health and numbers, I don't feel like there's much reason for them to hide that. And I could be wrong, I could be naive or stupid, but I just happen to believe that more. So I do think it's definitely possible their numbers could be way higher than ours and we just don't know it. But I still feel like the fact that ours has gotten that high is something I wouldn't have thought of. And again, I don't think it's the end of the world, because I feel like you do have to think about all these logistics and everything that goes into it, and also the fact that our economy is getting destroyed and that it's going to affect our whole lives if there's not some kind of balance. But back to the point, I know I'm going to ramble a lot, especially without Cody here, so get ready for that. But back to the original point of I feel like people just listen to what they hear and just repeat it, and because they hear it on social media, they hear it on the news, they don't know what they're even repeating anymore. They just know they have to say it. Like not going outside, even though every official has told you can do that, and it's common sense that that'd be safer as long as you're still doing the same things that you do indoors. And where I started with that was one of our early episodes. We talked about the Arnold Classic getting canceled here, which that's interesting to. I'll go back to that in a second, so I don't get lost again. But Arnold was very against that, and one of the worries I had is that he would take it away, and that's a huge deal here. Not if you're not personally into it, what it brings to the city and the state and the income and the economy is humongous, and I worried that he would take that way, and he had strong stances like I thought he would. But since then, he's put out multiple videos supporting exactly what the governor did here. So he must have changed his view on it. Um, and if you haven't seen these videos, you gotta look them up. They are fucking hilarious. But one of the videos, he has two donkeys coming up to him, and he's talking about how the virus is very serious and you need to stay home, all these things. So like I said, he's just doubling down on exactly the opposite of what he said, which is okay. If your mind changes or your opinion changes, you should voice that. I don't think you have to go again the opposite way and double down on something, if it's something I feel or have a certain opinion about. I feel like it's a terrible idea to do that, and I notice myself doing it sometimes, but I try to get out of that habit. But then the other video, he was in his pool and smoking a cigar. These videos are great. You guys see them. And he was talking about how he's outdoors enjoying the in beautiful weather and just puffing on a cigar every 2 seconds. And he said how serious this is and you need a social distance and don't go outside. And if you remember 3 seconds before this, he started with I'm outside enjoying the beautiful weather. And I'm not criticizing for being outside. He should be. That's exactly it. You still can do things. And even though I still feel like this is serious, I do feel like the panic is way worse and way more dangerous. And the longer people don't have jobs and the more people get scared and hear these things, this could get so much worse. Not the virus, but which that could. But if people start killing each other, if there's shootings, if there's people robbing each other, get stuff, which is very realistic things. If people aren't having an income, which they passed the $2 trillion bill that is supposed to support small businesses and hospitals, and every American that's making under $75,000 is supposed to get a $1,200 check. But there's no way to know that's for sure. I do believe it, but we see these things passed all the time and go nowhere and bounce back and forth, and this already has a few times. That's why I do believe it's probably going to happen. But even then, $1,200 only goes so far if this keeps dragging on. So that's my thoughts. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. This is part of why I ramble, because I tell Cody every time after we record an episode, I think of something. I'm like, oh shit, how do I talk about next episode without just bringing up the same things? And that's also part of why I come back to things so much, and I might do that with this again, even though this will hopefully be the end of the virus talk. But that's what I have to say about that, and that's what I've been up to. And then we usually go into corrections, questions, and feedback. And for one already, the feedback so far and the clarification, like I said, not having an episode on Friday for the reasons I already spoke about. And then the episode we had the week before, it was not intentional to look like an 8-bit game. I know we're talking about a lot of retro stuff and it's kind of in our name to be retro, but that was not intentional. We thought everything was good, and we tried a different recording, and that's what happened. So it was not intentional, and we were horrified when we saw it. It was funny, but it was terrible. So, like I said, I think we found the magic formula, fingers crossed, and after this we'll have normal episodes every Friday, recording Thursday night, release them Friday, and that should be the normal schedule. Obviously, with all this nonsense, that could change, and there's unfortunately this isn't our full-time job, so we can only do as much as we can with it, and we do love it, so we try our best to stick with it, and we do want it to be a scheduled thing, but we can only do as much as we can, especially if it keeps getting more and more strict that we literally can't be around each other and it's impossible. So that's what I have to say about that. And if I have to do some solo ones like this, I will. And you guys can give feedback, and please give honest feedback if I can do anything better, if I did anything good. no matter how you feel about it, just honesty. And our friend Ryan actually wanted to do this episode with me, and so he's somebody to come maybe fill in if Cody's not here. But I'd like to have it be a scheduled thing because it's nice to have the same person over and over, so you can get kind of like a I don't know, call it a repertoire with them, but chemistry, I guess. I feel like the podcasts I listen to, if there's people in and out, I can never really get used to it. But the people that stick around, I feel like it's a lot easier connecting to relate with them. So I think that's all on that. The only other thing would be we talked last week about I think it was last week. Hopefully it wasn't the episode that had no audio. That's the other thing. I might misspeak with that because things are so mixed up for me now. But we talked about the PS5 reveal that they did and how they said the top 100 games, most of the top 100 PS4 games will be playable on PS5. So this isn't really a correction or error on our part. It's more on Sony's, but I just want to talk about it. They said now that it's the vast majority of PS4 games are that, and that when they said they were talking about the 100, that means that those 100 will get, or majority of the 100 will get PS5 improvements, whatever that means. But I feel like they're just being so iffy about their lose my train of thought there. See how you even without Cody here. But I feel like Microsoft has been so obvious about what you're going to be able to play on the Xbox Series X, and that there is going to be so much that you can be able to go back and play. And Sony is being all over the place and giving different answers and conflicting answers that I feel like it's hard to know what is actually going to be able to be playable on PS5 aside from the obvious PS5 games, which is a big deal, and we'll see how that goes. And then there hasn't been a lot of news. I think it's probably going to be the same for a while with all this going on. I feel like the vast majority of news coming up might be, unfortunately, more cancellations or things getting postponed, because I think it's going to creep into games more, with the main part of production being in China for systems and manufacturing, and then even game development. They're mostly people aren't going to be able to develop because they're going to be on shutdowns or lockdowns and not be able to go to their offices. I'm sure some can do work from home, but I feel like there's going to be more and more of this. So we'll see what happens with that. So the news, we watched the Nintendo Direct Mini before we started recording last night, which I don't know what the hell a Nintendo Direct Mini is, because it was the same length as most Nintendo Directs. But there wasn't a whole lot in it. I kind of put a note of some things that caught my eye. These aren't necessarily the biggest stories, or definitely not everything, just some things that I was interested in or thought we could talk about. So 2K announced multiple collections. They announced the Bioshock collection for the multiple collection for the Switch, I should say. The Bioshock collection for the Switch, which is Bioshock, Bioshock 2, and Bioshock Infinite, which we talked about in the Bioshock collection multiple times on here. If you haven't played it, you need to play it. It's one of the best series in gaming history and one of the best stories in any media, I think. And I don't know what these games are going to be priced. They're going to be full 60, 40, what it is. I think 40 would be the better price and sell a lot more. But even at 60, the value of that is so crazy and so worth it. And even if you have played it, I feel like it's a cool idea to have it on the go and be able to connect with, well, not with Bioshock, but have it on the go and play it wherever, and then connect it to your TV and be able to play it that way. I feel like it's a really cool idea. And then it was the Borderlands collection, which Borderlands, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands pre-sequel. And they call it the Legendary Collection, which I feel like is weird to not have Borderlands 3 in there, it would have been a much better sell. But I had to imagine that's because Borderlands 3 is the newest one, and they're going to release that separate on Switch, and they want the sales from it. Because I feel like it's so obvious to call Legendary Collection put in there, so that's the only reason I could think of. And even with that missing, though, again, the value of that is just so crazy. I mean, if it is $60, that those games are just already humongous, and you get 3 of them, and so much fun. And that's a better game that I was talking about, that you can take on the go and connect with people and play. And hopefully it has a online play, but also like local play, to be able to connect the switches like ad hoc. I think will be fantastic with those games. And then the other one they announced was the XCOM collection, but I don't know what the hell a collection is because it's XCOM 2, and that's all they said. Cody said that must mean all the DLC, which would make sense, but still weird that you don't just throw XCOM in there. I don't get that one at all, and I don't know why you call it a collection. And then they showed Shinsekai Into the Depths, which is available now, but I guess it came out, it's a Capcom game that came out October of last year, and it's an underwater game. It actually looked really interesting. I know Cody, he says, again, Kai his eye the most, and I thought it was super interesting, but I just don't know if I can do a whole game of underwater. There's been a couple games that I've liked, and that probably sounds like I'm joking. I now realize, because Bioshock's all underwater, but most of the game, like I'm talking gameplay, like underwater, like the physics of it is what I hate. There's still, even then, there's been a couple that I've liked, so I'm gonna give it a try because it did look really cool. But the next thing that caught my eye was a game called Good Job. It's also available now. I think I'm gonna have to get this one. It looks really good. It's kind of like a physics-based game where you're a worker and you're trying to get these jobs done, but it's physics-based, so everything goes wrong and just looks over the top and silly. And then there's the Ring Fit update, which I made fun of that thing like crazy when it came out, but apparently it's been talked about a lot. This isn't news. I didn't know if it was true or not. Me and Cody were talking, and it is true. When I looked it up, the Ring Fit has sold out everywhere, and it's like crazy amount. It's like $300 on Amazon, $350 on eBay, and you can't get it, which is the most Nintendo thing ever. But they announced an update that is available now. That is like a rhythm music game with Nintendo songs. So there's like Splatoon songs, there's Mario songs in it. And like I said, I mocked the Ring Fit, but it looked fantastic. I have always liked music rhythm games. I love Guitar Hero. Rock Band I think is absolutely amazing. DJ Hero I think is so underrated. There's some weird ones that people probably haven't heard of, like Boom Boom Rocket, an early XBLA game that is so much fun. So that got me interested, and actually made me, something I originally made fun of like crazy, interested in it. But then I figured out that was true, that you can't get it pretty much anywhere. So I was depressed, which seems to be a trend for Nintendo, because somebody was talking about work about not being able to find a Switch anywhere. I saw them at stores everywhere, so I feel like they don't know what they're talking about. But then I looked it up, same thing on Amazon. It's like $500. eBay had them for like $600. And me and Cody were talking, and I said that I feel like it's a real bad sign for the new systems coming out, because I feel like there has to be production because of virus slowing things down. And he brought the counterpoint, which I think is fair and a good one, about Animal Crossing, because that's been a crazy system seller. He was wanting it for, the guy in my work was wanting it for Animal Crossing. That's what most people are doing. So I do think that's part of it. But after we talked about that, I was at a couple of stores, and I noticed that a lot of the iPads were completely sold out. And so I feel like part of it definitely is Animal Crossing, but I'm worried that definitely a big part of it must be production, because there's no reason iPads should be sold out right now. And I was going to say, it makes me really worried about the new consoles coming out this year, because I don't see it happening unless this virus just goes away completely, because all the manufacturing is in China. But I actually would personally be okay if the consoles got delayed. The only reason I'd be sad is that I've already waited entirely too long for Halo, and they're not releasing Halo without the new console, so that would be my biggest bummer. But as far as the consoles themselves not coming out, I actually would be completely okay with that. I was gonna buy it because I love Halo and I'm on the original Xbox still, so it would be a huge improvement. If I was on the Xbox One, then I might not, because the jump would be noticeable but not humongous. And but because originally I said that that's the only way I'd buy the new Xbox if Halo came with it, and then I knew they would do that because that's how they're going to get it to sell. But then they did an interesting thing of saying that there's not going to be Xbox One or Xbox Series X game exclusive games for at least 2 years. So Halo is going to come out on Xbox One. So that changed my thought. But then, like I said, I started thinking about how old my Xbox is, and the jump to that would just be so drastic that for a game like Halo, I think I'd want that, because me and Cody used to do a different podcast, so we referenced a couple times, and that was one of the worries we had, that they kept saying how all these Xboxes are going to work together and you wouldn't notice a difference. But eventually, it's just not going to be true. There's going to be differences. There's no way that all these things can operate together. And you're already seeing that when I'm playing with people that have Series X's, or on PS4 if they have Pros. They're talking about things that are happening in the game, and I'm still at a loading screen. And that's a big deal in games. So I feel like it's already happening. So something like Halo, that is my favorite series of all time, I don't feel like I'd want a dumbed down version of that. I feel like I'd want it at maximum. But like I said, as far as um, buying a system, I would totally be okay waiting. I don't need one yet. And I wish I know why they did it. They, like any business, need the income and everything. But I would have been totally okay waiting even a couple more years. These consoles are, I don't think, have maxed out what they can do, especially if you have an X or a Pro. Because I mean, if you look at Uncharted compared to Last of Us, those look like they're entire generation between those systems, because it takes so long for developers to realize the potential of systems and what they can do, that I think they could have got so much more out of it. But that's just how I feel. So that was a tangent when I was talking about Nintendo news. I talked mostly about PlayStation and Xbox. But the next thing that caught my eye was they announced the next fighter in Smash Bros. Well, they didn't announce the fighter himself. They announced that he would be from ARMS, though, just not which character. And I was kind of disappointed in myself and shocked that I have never even thought about ARMS being in a Smash Bros. Game, which is nuts, because it's a Nintendo fighting game. Was a Nintendo fighting game. It's the most obvious thing in the world, and people all the time put out their projected fighters or who they want. And I've also never seen anybody else talk about it, and I feel like it's just such a no-brainer. And ARMS has so many cool mechanics, and the long arms, and the different tactics that you could do, that there's a lot of cool mechanics they could do with Smash Bros. So I'm interested to see how they'll work with it. And then the next thing that caught both of our eyes and we were excited about was a game called Ninja. There's a fantastic, if you haven't watched this direct, you should watch it. It's like any Nintendo. You get all the JRPG nonsense that just drags on and feels like 5 hours, even though it's like probably a minute to 3 minutes. But they do it like 5 times, so it does make it last longer. But then you get all the cool announcements in between, and I actually don't mind the cringiness in the JRPGs, because it's so enjoyable to make fun of and laugh at. But then you get the interesting announcements, but even with those, like Ninja, there's some awful Eminem pun at the beginning of it that me and Cody were laughing at. I can't remember what it was, so I don't want to mess it up now. But it was really good. And but what it is a battle royale, which I know right away people make fun of, but battle royale, I think, is a really cool idea. And I feel like the main issue with battle royale is that, like most trends in games and even life, if one thing blows up, then that's a trend for just going forward, and people can't jump off it. There can't be variety or different things. But I feel like battle royale is a cool mode if it's a mode in something. I don't think everything needs to be battle royale and have nothing else in it. And I feel like this game is just a battle royale, which kind of conflicts with what I just said, but they do the interesting thing of making it look like a really different twist. You wouldn't be able to tell it was a battle royale unless they said it, which couldn't when I was watching it. But it looks more like Splatoon. Me and Cody noticed, and actually when I was looking something up for this, the autofill was Splatoon, so I think a lot of people are noticing the similarities. But it's a free-to-play battle royale coming out on May 27th, and it looks super interesting, and there's just a lot of weird things in it, and it looks very Nintendo, and you're a little character, but then you can transform into a sign to hide from people, and there's just a lot of interesting things like that. And then they announced, or not announced, they because it was announced at E3, but they showed Star Wars Jedi Academy, and it looked interesting. Definitely looked dated for obvious reasons, and they did show a multiplayer mode, which I didn't know was a thing, but it looked very bland, but it looked entertaining. And then they showed Star Wars Pod Racing, which was one of my favorite games on 64. But I imagine, like most 64 games, and especially that one, if you go back and play it now, I'd imagine it's unplayable and terrible. And I looked it up, and they said that it will be out for PS4 as well. I don't know why not Xbox, but PS4 and Switch. And that it's going to be remastered and have modernized controls, which makes me really excited because I feel like that'll make it playable. And then PS4 will have trophies, which I love trophies and achievements, so I'm gonna have to get it on there. And then the last thing that caught my eye on the direct was Burnout Paradise, which is an older game and they've already remastered, but now they're putting out on Switch. And if you ever played Burnout, it's one of my favorite racers because I love kart racers, but I'm not a big fan of simulation racers or like street racing. There's been some, but kart racing is definitely more my thing. But one of the reasons I liked it because it kind of combined those. It's kind of like me and Cody were talking about cruising racing. It was like really unrealistic, and I love the old games. There's also crash mode where you could just hit cars and hit every environment, and however much you destroyed, you got points for. So it was kind of like a racer non-racer, and it was a lot of fun. And then they announced Burnout Paradise, and it abandoned a lot of that and made it an open world racer, which actually at the time was, I don't think, done. And if it was, it wasn't as common now. Like every racer is just open world, which goes back to what I said, that I feel like people just get on trends of games and don't know how to get off them, which if there's a cool idea, you can do it, and other people should copy it. But there still should be some other variety and not just that path till you kill it and then move on to something else. But it was one of the first games I think to do that, if not the first. And it was also kind of doing like connected worlds before anything did. You'd see people driving by and you could start a race with them. And there's just a lot of really cool stuff like that. So it went from me being really against it to giving it a chance and actually liking it even more than Burnout, which I did not expect at all. And then they have it's called Burnout Paradise, and they have Paradise City by Guns N' Roses in it. And as cheesy as it is, it gets me jacked every time it happens, and it happens a lot because they did not pay for many songs. And that one, obviously, they present more because of the name, but it's fantastic. So that's all for the news. Not much, like I said. But this week, I've actually played more than I have in a long time, at least as far as variety, maybe not game time. But like I said, one of the nice things about the unfortunate of the virus is that it kind of feels like old times where everybody's online again and people are wanting to spend time together and play games and do stuff. That I've been taking advantage of that. So me and one of my friends, Aaron and Trevor, kind of just did like a game that this was actually the night before it went on shutdown, so they were here. So it felt extra old school and fun because it wasn't even online. So we played some Nickelodeon Kart Racer, some Crash Team Racing, which Nickelodeon Kart Racer, I guess I should go over these as I'm talking about them, so I'm not just listing off games. Nickelodeon Kart Racer is a fun game. You can tell it's super budgety, but they sell it at a budget price at least. But it's like Mario Kart or anything else, just really dumbed down. And I knew it was a budget game, but the unfortunate parts about it aren't even really the gameplay or anything, because all that's perfectly fine, nothing stand out, and not as good as Mario Kart, just dumbed down version, like I said. But the more unfortunate parts that you think would be kind of easier and not budgety will be, I think they have 8 characters and 4 of them are Ninja Turtles, because they obviously can just use that asset and spread it across 4 times, because all you have to do is a change of mask. So that's unfortunate, because you know all the cool Nickelodeon characters they could have in all the worlds. But so we played that for a while, but it can only last so long, because like I said, it is kind of, you can tell, budgety. So then we switched to Crash Team Racing, which I haven't played since PS1, and that couldn't be more opposite. That game is even more fun than I remembered, and I liked it. Never as much as Mario Kart. No, it's kind of like a competition thing. I always like both of them, just Mario Kart more. But that game's even more fun than I remembered, and like I said, complete opposite of budget. It's a beautiful game. There's so much to it. There's so many modes. It's a lot of fun. I just haven't played enough of it yet. And then we played Nidhogg, which, if you haven't played that, is a fantastic game. I don't know if I should say underrated. I would say underplayed, because it's highly rated and well respected. I just don't feel like a lot of people know about it. It's a super interesting game where it's 2 players and you're like this and this, and you each have a sword. And the goal of the game is to get past the other person to the other side of the finish line for both people. But to do that, you have to kill the other person, so you have their sword, you kill them, and then you get to start running that way past them until they kill you, and vice versa. So it's kind of just a back and forth thing, and like the kind of old school game where they're like screaming at each other and excited, and comes down to the last second. And they do a cool thing of every time you kill each other, the blood stays there, and you can tell it's super low budget, but not in a bad way, like Nickelodeon, in a way that you could tell is super um, low scale, and that small team, but in a good way. Like I said, the art style they use is really well done, and every time you kill each other, the blood stays there, and it's like, it doesn't look like blood. It's like yellow and orange, because that's what the characters are, and just stays there. But what makes it cool is you can see every time you run past, so you know where like most of the deaths were in the level, or like if a spot had no deaths. It's a really interesting twist on it. And then we played some Gang Beast, which, if you never played Gang Beast, it's fantastic. It's a Double Fine game, and I played it before, and actually the same thing where you have people over. It's a perfect party game. It's another one of those physics games where it's so much nonsense, and I've never been a person who drinks or do drugs or anything, but I feel like if you did, this game would only be more fun, because it makes you feel like you're high and drunk without even being that way. Because like I said, I don't do that, so the fact that it makes you feel just crazy is enjoyable. And but the main goal of it is you have 4 little blob guys. We had 3, but you can have 4, and you're trying to throw each other off the level. But these physics are so unwieldy and ridiculous that you just have the funniest moments, and like the screaming and the perfect old school gaming. And like I said, I played it a lot before, but they've added like 4 new modes. There's like football, soccer, but they call it football. There's wave based. There's all these new modes that they have in there. They're just so much fun. If you haven't played Gang Beast, you need to play it. It's I'm pretty sure on Game Pass as well. We were playing on Steam because I have it on there, but I think they added it to Game Pass. And then they went home, and we got online and started a connected franchise on Madden, which, if you've never done a connected franchise, it's fantastic. So normally a franchise in Madden, you control a team, and the rest of the team are computers, which I used to do all the time as a kid, and I'd play forever. It was so much fun. But I was playing against computers, so I was destroying them, which as a kid was super fun. But as an adult, it kind of gets old when you're doing that. And so what this does in theory is every team is controlled by a human, and you can either start the season like you would, or you can have a fantasy draft and create your own teams. And I already love fantasy, so it's a perfect combo. That's what we did. And there's only 3 of us in our franchise, unfortunately, but the benefit of that is that you don't have to wait on all those other people to play their games, so we don't have to wait for us 3 every time. And even with 3, though, it's so much fun and makes me love Madden. I know it's cool to hate on Madden. I have issues with Madden, but there's so many positives it brings, especially with not having football and no sports right now, that makes me miss it even more, but also gives me a little taste of it. And then I've been jumping back into Borderlands 2 because I still have never beat that game. I've started with so many people and made it so far, but I've never beaten that game. So me and my friend Ryan, the one I was talking about that wants to do the podcast, we need somebody to fill in. I've been trying to work through the co-op campaign and that, and having a lot of fun. I always love Borderlands. That's why that collection on Switch is such a crazy deal. And then me and my girlfriend Danielle were playing Mario Kart and had a great time. Kind of a kart racer week, but Mario Kart's just fantastic whenever you play it. Then I beat. Should have started with this. It's something I actually beat, which is part of the point of our show. Lost Via Domos, which I know I talked about a couple times, but I finished it. And as I talked about before, part of the reason I want to play it again is, for one, Lost my favorite show of all time, and a game is Lost is set for the perfect game idea, and I hope it gets another chance. I doubt it ever will, but I hope it gets another chance because there's a lot of promise in it, but just so much went wrong. And we talked a couple times about who was it developed by, because I knew it was published by Ubisoft, and ABC helped make it, which is actually confusing how these things happen so wrong. What makes it more confusing is we figured out Ubisoft develops it too, so I don't know if they rushed it or what it was, but there's some promise there, there's some cool mechanics, and I think Lost should get another chance at the game and would be amazing. But there's just something missing there. For one, the biggest thing is ABC helped make it, but for some reason only like 4 of the voice actors, like I said I think a couple weeks ago, are actually voiced by the characters from the show, which I think that'd be the easiest thing to get with ABC working on it. And the ones that are not voicing it are obvious right away and are really bad. Some do an okay job at masking it and like, oh, it kind of sound like him or her, but most of them are just not even close and just drag you out of the experience right away, which, especially in Lost, because that's one of the things that pulls you into Lost is the acting so well done. And then even aside from that, there are mechanics in the game and how things are handled are just so put together and so poor, even though there is some cool stuff there, that it's hard to get through. And the main reason, aside from what I said, that I wanted to go back and play it is because I never finished it. I actually got to the second to last episode, because they call them episodes in the game, but I never finished it. And one of my favorite things in Lost is the story, so I was curious how it ended, and even that was not worth it because the ending was not terrible, but nothing worth playing for as far as me going back to it and hoping for something that I wanted. It didn't provide it, which is disappointing, but at the same time, you should play this game, which sounds like I might be trolling, but it's kind of like a B movie in the way that the things that are wrong with it kind of make it more enjoyable, which I wish wasn't the case because Lost deserves better and could be better than that, but since that's what it is, I feel like I gotta look for the positives, and that's definitely some positive in that. And then me and Aaron, Trevor, and me on my own have also played the Halo Master Chief Collection. It's kind of, I have like 5 games I rotate through like every week, and then Halo's always been one of those. And then the other thing I played, oh, see, I already messed up the schedule. This is what I get for not having Cody here. So I'm going to go back a second for gaming pickups because this leads into what I've been playing, the last thing I've been playing, so it kind of works. I got Unlocked the World of Games revealed, the Blu-ray movie I talked about a couple weeks ago, or last week I believe. I ordered that when I talked about it, but it arrived. I haven't watched it yet, but I was excited about that. And if you haven't seen the video games, I think it's just called Video Games on Netflix. It's a great documentary, and it's made by the same people who made this, so you should watch that. I got Nintendo Online, which I've never had, so I'm excited about that. And also gives you access to like the Netflix style NES and SNES, or NES and SNES, I should say, because it's kind of weird to break them up like that. Um, but like the Netflix style service of those, so it gives you a lot of games that you can play and adds like online features and some stuff that these games obviously at the time didn't have. And I bought the family account, so you can have up to 4 accounts for only $35, 35 or 40, which is I think a really good deal. And I got that because I talked about last week how I bought Animal Crossing from my girlfriend Danielle, and then she bought the digital version. I was still gonna give her the physical, and she appreciated it, but she said not to do it. So I still wanted to get her something, and I thought Nintendo Online was a good combination of that because you get those free NES and SNES games, which I would like. I know she would like. She could play Animal Crossing online, and it also benefits me because I haven't had Nintendo Online yet, and so I can play Mario Kart or Smash or any of these games online I've had, which is another thing I missed with Ninja Law. I read before I started this that you also don't need Nintendo Online for that, which is cool for the people who don't have it. And also, I think really smart because that make the player base way higher for a game that's going to be hard to get people to like that, I think. It's not like you're releasing Mario Kart or Smash Bros. Where everybody's waiting for it, so I think it's a really smart idea. But then the last thing I picked up was Twin Breaker, a Sacred Symbols Adventure, the digital version, because I talked a couple weeks ago about how I ordered the physical for PS4 and Vita, but those don't come out, I think, until sometime in May. We won't get them, and I want to play this game before that. And the digital also gives you a cross-buy PS4 and Vita for only $10, so that's a crazy deal. And I love Colin, and I like Sacred Symbols a lot. I like Chris, so I wanted to support them. And this goes into what I was playing with or Twin Breaker, a Sacred Symbol Adventure being the last one. That I wanted to like it, and I wanted to support no matter what because I love Colin and I love Sacred Symbols. I like Chris. There's just so many positives of why I wanted to support it, but at the same time, I really didn't know what I was supporting. I just knew I wanted to support Colin and the podcast, and I also know I love Colin and I agree with most things he says, and that's part of why I liked him because I don't agree with him because he is Colin, but that's what made me start liking him, and so I realized that I could relate with him a lot and that we had a lot of the same views, even though there's some things I strongly disagree with. For the most part, I've lined up with him more than most people, even in like real everyday life, which is weird to think about, and I feel like that's what pulls me closer to podcasts and brings me to a point where I buy multiple versions of a game I never played and don't know if I'll like. And one of my worries and where I differ from Colin is that I love games, but for the most part, I don't like really challenging and hard games. And Colin couldn't be more opposite. He talks about games that Mega Man is one of my favorite games, and I've never even beat a Mega Man game, which sounds criminal and crazy, but it's true. And so I worried with this game that it was going to be so incredibly hard that I just couldn't even play it. I just wanted to support Colin. And also, I actually used to really be into brick breakers when I was younger, which I don't think a lot of people were, but I was. So that was one hope I had with it. But I was like, do we really need a brick breaker? And is there anything to do different with the brick breaker? Why do we need a game like this? I feel like it's kind of something to pass and something to do quick fire on the computer and pass time. But then when I started it and it had the 5-minute intro, which I know a lot of people are mocking and talking about it's too long, I loved it, and I kept taking more of that. But that already kind of set me on a good path, but I still was worried about this game the whole time. And the game starts, and the music is absolutely fantastic, and I kind of hear it in my head when I'm not playing it, which is something I did not expect, which is going to be a common trend with this game, is a a lot of things I did not expect, but pleasantly surprised. And so you get in, and it's a brick breaker, but already from the beginning, there's a different twist. You have greetings and salutations, your two paddles at the bottom, whereas normally just one on a brick breaker. And I guess I should say, um, spoilers for this game. I'm not going to spoil the story or anything, but I'm going to talk about the mechanics, which for me actually surprised me, and I feel like made the game better. So I do feel like it's fair to give us a spoiler warning on that. If you just don't want anything spoiled, to tune out for a little bit. But so you have your two paddles at the bottom, which is a change up, and you can switch which one the ball launched from. If you press R1 or L1, it'll switch back and forth, and then you launch it, and then you start hitting them, and there's all these crazy power-ups that will fall, and you'll get guns that start shooting up. You'll get a fastball, a heavy ball, slow ball. You'll get something that makes your paddle bigger. There's just a lot of mechanics I did not expect, and that combined with the music happening and the trophies kind of pouring in, which I did not expect. Another thing, I was like, I'm gonna beat this game and get like more trophies with how Colin is, and I'm gonna be upset. But that's the opposite, and I think it's a smart idea because it pulls you in, and then there is some challenging trophies that you can get if you're like that, which I am. Some are just too tough for me, and I was like, this game is actually relatively easy. But then the thing I realized, I feel like it's a perfect old school game in the way that's really easy to play, but hard to master, which I feel like is the biggest compliment you could give. That's like going back to Pac-Man and some of those historic games ever. And then it definitely ratchets up when you get to level 25 right now. And I can't remember exactly what level, but like level 10 or something. It just changes everything on your head. There's the two powers you always have, but then they add two here. And you're controlling with the left stick and the right stick for your bottom two, the left and right. But then when they add these two, you gotta go up and down with your left and right stick, and it just messes with your brain so much and makes it so much more chaotic, but fun and frustrating and great all at the same time. I am, like I said, at level 25, so this is his first game. Lily Mo, they're haven't made many games, so and they're independent, so this can't be much longer. And I looked up, and there's a trophy for 40 levels, which made me actually excited because that meant there's that much more of it. But also terrified me that it is going to turn into a game that is just unbeatable for me. But I don't think that'll be the case because another nice thing they did, which I did not expect, was they give you a lot of leeway to be able to make sure you can get through the game by, if you lose all your hearts, which you have 3 or 4, I think 3 to start out with, that if you lose those, your mission's not automatically over. If you've got enough score, you can rebuy a heart, and you can keep doing that as long as you have enough score to buy a heart. So that was one thing I was pleasantly surprised by. I'll keep taking your score down, which is completely fair, but that way it gives you people a fair shot to beat it, even if you're not getting the highest scores, which also brings me to the next point that I did not expect. I'm never the kind of person that chases scores or wants to do better at that kind of stuff. I'll want to get more achievements or do better at being a campaign or something, but like the score-based kind of things I never was into. And every time I got one that wasn't an S, I'd be, oh man, I gotta go back through that one later and do that one again, which is something I did not see coming. And I feel like another compliment. And then another thing I did not expect, I thought the campaign would be there, but I didn't know there was gonna be all these other modes. And there's like a boss battle mode, kind of like a shoot 'em up style. There's all these different modes that I did not see coming. And I saw somebody also tweeted at Colin and said they love the multiplayer mode, which I thought was a joke because there's no multiplayer. And I was like, wait, what happens if I turn another controller on? And then what happens is the two on the left, like the one on the bottom, the one on the left here, are controlled by one controller, and the other one is controlled, the right side is controlled by the player two. Now that is genius, and I'm glad somebody tweeted that because I don't know if I would have ever turned on another controller. Which I don't know if that's a flaw in the game or if that was like an Easter egg or something you just want people to figure out. And I also feel like is another way that you could, if you're having trouble with the game, make it pass by getting, if you have somebody with you, I feel like that'd have to be much easier because that's the thing that messes with me the most is the different sides and the bottoms at the different times. If you have one person controlling one side, the other controlling one side, I feel like that'd have to make it a lot more manageable and makes me more excited because my girlfriend's not. She likes games, but she always gets hung up on controls and um, judges herself for it. So I feel like that'd be a fun game to get her into and have fun with it. The only other, I guess, criticisms I would have is that I feel like it would actually be, personally be really cool to have multiplayer, like a straight up multiplayer mode, not like co-op. I love the co-op, but a multiplayer mode where it's maybe score based battle or like knockout, like you play 10 people and who's ever getting the most score, kind of like Peggle did, which this game actually reminds me a lot of Peggle and I feel like also helped. But I feel like that would be cool, and I feel like online modes with that or split screen battles would be really cool. But I know Colin's not the biggest multiplayer guy, so I'm not sure if that would be something that interests him, which is somewhere where we differ as well. But I also love single player games. I'm not a multiplayer only guy like a lot of people. And then the only other um, criticism I would have, and I don't even know if it's a fair criticism because I also haven't played enough of this game, is that a lot of times the ball will get stuck just going side to side over and over, just slowly until you gotta wait till it gets to the bottom. Which I will say there um, is a mechanic where the paddles you can press R1 or I think it's R1 or L1 once they charge and it'll like throw a paddle up, and I think that might be part of the reason for that to solve that, but I'm not sure. But also that only works if you have it. But I feel like it makes it frustrating when you know you can beat the level and you're running out of time, and that happens and it gets stuck. So it feels like it's not really your fault. But I'm not sure if that's a fair criticism, and I haven't played enough. And these are very few criticisms for something I wanted to support, but I had no idea if I'd like. So very pleasantly surprised. Um, and then what I've been watching. Um, so I realized that last week that was something I missed. So I'll talk about what I watched last week. My girlfriend Danielle has somehow never seen 101 Dalmatians, the animated or the live action movies. So we watched both those, started with the animated and then went to live action. Still both great. She loved them. Then later in the week I told her she could pick any movie and she picked Frozen 2, which is, there's nothing wrong with Frozen 2, it's okay, but definitely not as good as the first one, and the first one got ran to the ground before I could even see it a second time because people just live their lives by movies and just quote everything and run into the ground, unfortunately, because I actually loved the first one at the time. And it's not a hipster thing. I don't care if one of my favorite artists is Taylor Swift. She's one of the biggest, if not the biggest female artist of all time. One of my favorite games of all time, and one of my favorite series is Halo. That's easily one of the biggest series of all time. Lost is my favorite show of all time. That's easily one of the biggest shows of all time. So I don't care if things are popular. I don't jump off board because a lot of people like it. I jump off board or get annoyed when people run things into the ground by being like that and just forcing it down your throat. And yeah, it just bothered me. And even more than that, because this is different, I was just going to roll into this, but this is definitely different. It turns me off of stuff when everybody just has the same opinion on something, because I feel like, not because they have the same opinion, but because if they're all having the same opinion, I don't believe it's true. Because like a new hot movie will come to Netflix and everybody loves it. You don't hear a single person say anything bad about it. So at a certain point, there's no way just all these people happen to love it. They have to just not be paying attention or let that influence their opinions, which I definitely can happen with me, but I try not to because that frustrates me. And then it makes you not know what you can even trust as far as going into things, and I feel like it ruins a lot of things that way. But then we also watched Star Wars Episode 3 because we're trying to watch a Star Wars each week. We've seen them all multiple times, but we just wanted to see them again. And then we watched Mouse Hunt because she's never seen that. a fantastic movies from the 90s, or a fantastic movie from the 90s, and one of my favorites as a kid. And if you haven't seen Mouse Hunt, you gotta watch it. One of the things I was worried about is that it would not hold up, and it's a kids movie, and it actually holds up surprisingly well. The acting is really good. There's a meaningful story for how silly the um, premise is and how silly it ends up being. There's actually a meaningful, well-told story and good acting. And I did not know or didn't process as a kid that Christopher Walken was in it, and caught me off guard and was very funny. And then this week, I watched The Walking Dead, try and get caught up. I'm in season 9, and I'm at episode 12, so I still got a good amount to catch up with. But I'm excited about it, which The Walking Dead I love, but I feel like the pilot episode of The Walking Dead has been 10 times better than anything they've done the rest of the series, which the pilot's supposed to lift the rest of the show, and I feel like it's been backwards with this, to a point where I keep watching it, but there's so many episodes and even seasons where I'm watching it, but I just kind of zone out and just realize that I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. There's not much entertaining, and so many characters and times they've wasted. But it's bringing me back in and getting me a point where I actually want to know what happens next, and I'm excited, which hasn't been the case for Walking Dead in a while. So I hope they can keep building off that. And I know they just delayed the finale of season 10, so because of virus, so that will give me some time to catch up and hopefully be able to watch the season finale as it happens, whenever it happens. And then we watched E.T., because that was another movie she's never seen, and that movie is fantastic. I've seen it many times, and all the time as a kid I loved it. And that was another one that I was worried wouldn't hold up, though, because it's been a little bit since I've seen it. And that movie holds up better than it ever should. It's amazing, and I hope that's a movie they never touch. I know they've already um, touched it up and made it look better. I'm okay with that, but as far as like remastered or like a remake or a sequel, I hope they never do that, because E.T. is just, it's not a perfect movie, but it's perfect for what it is and doesn't need to be any different. And the story in it is straightforward but good. E.T. is adorable. The acting is phenomenal, especially for little kids, which you don't see often and usually take your attention away from movies because it's so bad. But E.T. actually lifted the movie higher up. And Cody brought the point. He said he doesn't feel like that's the case. He said he feels like that it depends on production value and how much money is in it. Okay, so like Stranger Things and It, the kid acting is not, doesn't distract you and lifts it up, and I agree with that. I feel like maybe that is the issue, not the time period. It's that you need more money and support behind it to be able to have people like that, because I should have looked up, but the kid that played Elliot was amazing. Drew Barrymore is fantastic in it, and actually the people that are older, the people that have seem like less of the acting skills. And then there's just stuff that you don't see nowadays in movies that wouldn't fly. Like they say it's a PG movie and they say douchebag, shit, hell, and the best line in the movie is when Elliot's yelling at his older brother, and he said it was nothing like that penis breath. I'm gonna have to use that as an insult because that's fucking fantastic. And that was kind of in Mouse Hunt too, even being a mid to late 90s movie. They throw a bunch of like minor cuss words in there, and there's a scene where the mouse falls in the girl's dress and the guy starts reaching down it, and then the girl sitting next to her gets jealous and grabs the guy's arm and puts it down her dress. And I was just thinking, if you saw that in a PG movie today, people would lose their minds. So it's weird to think about. So that brings us to our reminders of the free PS Plus and Xbox Gold games. So this week you got on Xbox One, you only got a few days left till the March 31st. Batman: The Enemy Within, the Telltale Season 2 series, or Season 2 of the Telltale series. And if you, sorry, I heard noise. If you haven't played it, you should play. You should play season 1 first, but that's not free, so you should download this. And that's part of why we started doing this as a reminder, but also people always avoid these games because why don't I have room on my hard drive? That's the point of these reminders and why you should do it. If you just initiate the download, you'll have that in your history and can download it whenever you want. You don't have to keep it on your hard drive. And so that's the best way to do it. And then on 360, you get Sonic Generations till the 31st. Oh God, hope I don't mess it up, Cody. You can give me your feedback. Shintai is available till April 15th, so you got some more time on that. Hope I didn't butcher it. PS Plus, you got Shadow of the Colossus and Sonic Forces. And I think I got mixed up on this last month. I said you only have a few days left. It goes until April 6th on those, so I don't know if Sony has overlap, if that's normal, or what they do, but April 6th for those, so you got a little bit of time. But then, starting tonight when this comes, or when I'm recording this at least, and part of why I wanted to start dating these episodes, especially if we don't get them uploaded when in time, so you know when we record them, so you have more context for what makes sense. I'm going to try and remember to do that each week now. But the Predator Hunting Grounds free trial you get comes out on tonight from 27th tonight till the 29th. So you should download that. That's I think gonna be a lot of fun. I love Predator, and Friday the 13th was fantastic. The only downside that it was low budget. It was their first game, and it had a lot of issues. And then they had the lawsuit that created way more issues for them. So I think this game's gonna build off a lot of that. I know another kind of correction I have for myself, as I said multiple times, the big plus I think they have with that is that with Friday the 13th, they had to worry about it on so many different platforms that I feel like having it on just PlayStation being exclusive will help it a lot, because they'll only have to focus on one platform. But I looked when I was looking at tonight, and I guess it's on the Epic Store as a free trial too, which if you don't have PlayStation, the Epic Store is free, and also gives you a free trial of this for as long as PlayStation has it. But I guess it's exclusive to console then for PlayStation, but not exclusive. And I don't know if that also means it's exclusive to Epic Store, if it'll be on Steam, or how that works. But that makes me a little more worried that they can't just focus on one platform. But I do think it's better than having it spread across every platform like Friday the 13th was. So that's all I got to say about that. I'm going to be if it's up like literally right now, I'll be doing it after this to try it out. But if not, I'll be playing it because I'm excited for it and I hope it's good. And then that brings us to fake outrage. So this was day one of the quarantine. So the restaurants were closed on the inside. So we were on our break at work, me and my girlfriend Danielle, and we went to Hardee's, and it was the one thing I could look forward to because you already couldn't go inside. But I was like, man, I'm gonna go to their drive-through, get number 14, chicken fingers, fries, chocolate chip cookie, Dr. Pepper. Have a great time. I was looking forward to it in these dark times. And Danielle always packs her lunch in her Mario lunchbox because she's 2, and she always has some ridiculously healthy meal with a water, sometimes a zero drink, a sandwich, applesauce, all this healthy nonsense. Always healthy though. So I get up to the window, and this girl's like, "Oh, look at you eating however you want, and your girlfriend's eating all healthy over there." I'm like, what the hell? Are you fat shaming me right now? Really? And especially during this time? So it really turned me off, and I thought we were past fat shaming. It's 2020. We're going through a pandemic. So it really hurt my feelings, and I think it's really uncalled for. And some people should really catch up with the times. So that's all I had to say on that. So hopefully this episode was bearable. If you made it this far, let me know. Give me honest feedback. If you made it this far, let me know. Comment Nintendo, Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. Yep, I think I covered them all. Nintendo, Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. Comment any of those. If you're the first one, you'll get a $25 gift card. So let me know. And hopefully I didn't miss anything, because I'm trying to get better at having, even though we ramble and like talk about different stuff, which I want to be that, because that's the best podcast are like that. We do want to have more of a normal schedule of how we do it, and also how we release it, which hopefully is gonna be fixed with the solutions we found. So with that, I'll leave you with, you can always follow us on, as always, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at currentbacklog, and you can email us at currentbackloggers@gmail.com. Hopefully that was a good episode. Hopefully it's bearable. Hopefully next week will be normal. And I love you.